Let's consider what happens in a titration in a general sense. Titration. You want to know the concentration of an unknown acid or base, and you can do that by adding a measured amount of the opposite. Usually it's a unknown concentration of acid. We drip in the concentration of base of a known concentration, and in a simple analysis, C1V1 equals C2V2 for strong acids and bases can be used to figure it out. In other words, I'm sorry, if you had to add a lot of let's say 1 molar solution of sodium hydroxide to that unknown concentration of acid, which you do know the volume of it, after all, you're dripping it into a known volume of it, then you're solving for one of these 4 and you're given the other 3. And if it takes a lot, you'd be saying to yourself, wow, strong acid, right? Took a lot of my base to neutralize it. So hopefully you get a feel for the logic behind titration. However, we've been looking at weak acids and weak bases when we've been studying buffers, and so for that there's an equilibrium situation, and that comes into play. But for now, let's just understand the basic idea of a titration. The equivalence point is that point at which the reaction is complete. That's when you get a pale pink endpoint if you happen to be adding a base to your acid that contains an indicator. These indicators typically change their pH at the equivalence point, which hopefully is somewhere near neutral. And we also need to have an indicator, and that's the substance that changes color. And the procedure is usually to just drip in the base of a known concentration, measuring it as it goes. That's why a burette is used, long and skinny, so that the precision is very high. The thinner it is, the higher the precision would be. Of course, you might have issues with running out of it if it's too thin. And when you get to that pale pink endpoint, you are done. Alternatively, you could simply monitor the pH and note that the pH changes drastically when you're going through the equivalence point. That's an introduction to titration.